Hi, Aries. Welcome to your mid-June 2022 general tarot reading. It's Raina here. So, I um I was just starting it. I hadn't pulled many cards out, but I was trying to say that I did some early readings. I don't know if yours was one of the signs, but I'm just gonna go down the line. I don't really care, and I usually don't do things that early, so probably should have waited. And this is kind of a better time for me for the mid-month, because it's the 10th when I'm recording this. Okay, let's look at this. When I pull these cards out, I don't even really pay attention to what they represent. Let's look at the past position in this one. Prince of Pentacles is the equivalent of the Knight of Pentacles. This can be an actual Taurus individual. Not a surprise, they've got a bull there, so that makes sense. And it's a very practical, diligent, hardworking kind of an energy. And, consistency, just that great way of doing things. But it's kind of like being doing things by rote, maybe doing things a little bit too predictably in your life. If this is a work situation, you might be just like not going through the motions, but not necessarily living your passion in life. And Aries is a fire sign, and you're all about passion. So maybe you're Sun in Aries and you have Mars in Taurus, and you love that kind of work energy where you have a lot of energy. So you might just be like somebody who likes to put in a good day's work, and you like the routine of it. I mean, there's a part of you that enjoys that fixed kind of a routine, but at the end of the day, you're in Aries and you're like, okay, what do I do? And this can even be like an individual who's like that. And maybe, this person is very dependable, reliable, whatever you want to say, but being an Aries, you love living on the edge, and perhaps it's a little bit too predictable and boring for you. The heart of the matter is the Lover's card, and yes, it can be about a love situation, but this is a card of choice. And it is a card that's associated with Gemini, believe it or not, too. So if it's a choice between a Gemini and a Taurus, I think the Gemini will win out. Just spoiler alert. But if you think about those energies, a witty, kind of an intellectual person who is hard to pin down, and somebody who is very sensual, maybe, and you certainly have that side to yourself, but very, kind of like in their comfort zone and liking to do things over and over again, repeating the same thing over and over again. Can you tell I have Taurus rising? So, you might be choosing between two people with two different types of personalities. But if this is your work situation, because that could certainly be with the Knight of Pentacles, you might be at a crossroads. The higher message is the Nine of Swords. This is a card of anxiety. Very interesting in this deck, which is the Cosmic Slumber Tarot deck. I haven't seen anybody else use this deck on YouTube, but I don't watch tarot readings anymore. So, I mean, I haven't seen one. Here and there, I do see people picking cards, but not like, I don't seek it out per se. And I don't know how long this deck has been around. I think it's relatively new. I found out about it going on Amazon and seeing some of the artwork. That's what attracts me. But, one of the things that I think is very important with the artwork is that it has some real connection with the meaning of the cards. Although I do have a deck that isn't quite like that, and I still love it anyway. So the Nine of Swords looks to me like the Ten of Swords and some of the other decks, this idea of getting stabbed in the back, metaphorically, of course. But this is not necessarily a card of betrayal. This is more a card of anxiety. So maybe it's like showing that the person feels like all these weapons are formed against them or something. And maybe it's even like, I always get like 12th house vibes from the Nine of Swords, because in the Rider-Waite deck, they show somebody at night and they're having a nightmare, or they're just they're awake. Maybe they're just anxiety, So I feel like, for whatever reason, people that Aries people who resonate with this idea of being at a crossroads, let's say it's career-wise, that they're anxious about making that decision. They're not necessarily the typical Aries, like cocky bravado type of a thing. So that might mean that you are unsure of yourself, that you're not sure that you're making the right decision. So that could be something that you have to look at for sure. We have a couple of swords cards here. Swords relate to the air signs, and they also relate to conflict or stress, things like that. So what crosses you is the Princess of Torches, which is the Page of Wands. This is kind of like, this looks a little, this doesn't look so, I mean, the Page of Wands is really about experiencing good news. And this looks like somebody traveling through hell, as far as I can see. But it's a fire energy wands, and it's in a challenge position. So there may be a communication that is not something that you were hoping for, and so this complicates things. But remember that we are in June. I think that it's only going to be up from here in terms of after the middle of the month. I would say around the time of the summer solstice or winter solstice down under, that we're going to start to see a real shift in what is going on, because Mercury has not come out of its shadow, and I've just been through, and that wasn't even during the Mercury retrograde. This was afterwards. That's when I got hit with everything, and that has happened to me before. Because even when a planet stations direct, it still has a very powerful, maybe even more powerful than when it's in the middle of a retrograde. When it stations retrograde and when it stations direct, because it stays frozen at that degree, for a little bit, and that can be very. Those days can be very important. I feel. And I had, like, I don't want to get into all of that because it's just, but it was like the perfect storm where I couldn't get into an account. I was locked out, but my phone wasn't working, those kinds of things. I couldn't get my password and all of those things. So, and it's all like kind of Mercury related in that sense. So if you are feeling like, there was something you were hoping for, maybe it was in the mail, some good news. It doesn't mean it's not coming, but maybe there's a delay. So don't be disappointed if it doesn't come when you expected it. Because remember that this reading is looking at the energy at the middle of the month, or leading up to the middle of the month. So let's check back because I'll probably be doing an end of the month reading in a week or so, and then we can see what has transpired. Um, we'll already have had that full moon in Sagittarius. What is coming in is the Six of Swords, and this can be a card of relocation, um, leaving behind stress in your life. This is a six, this is a six. Six is connected to Venus, and Venus is all about harmony. And Aries sometimes is not about harmony. Sometimes Aries is about stirring the pot. And you might think it's fun to stir the pot. But even an Aries person can see the writing on the wall when something is too stressful for them. And maybe that's what that Nine of Swords represents, is that if you were involved in a situation that felt exciting, but maybe very unsettling. Yeah, I mean, especially, let's say the Lover's card is an actual Gemini person. It could be saying that that person is bringing you anxiety. Like, you're attracted to that person for that very reason, but it's not necessarily a good attraction in certain cases. So you might have to distance yourself from that situation. And anything work related too. There might be it, sometimes I think that it makes a lot of sense that a person should not be complacent and not just like stay in a comfort zone. But some people, anything that is predictable can seem like it's wrong or it's bad. You know what I mean? And Aries is a sign of the catalyzer, the catalyst, the person who loves to start things. And when things become more routine, you might falsely assume that there's something wrong, that you're just stagnant, that you're not making any progress. But in fact, you're laying down roots, or you're doing something that is much more appropriate. And I think as we near the end of June, and we have a new moon in Cancer, which is your fourth house of home and family, Aries, that you may see exactly what this means at a deeper level, that there may be something where you realize there's something to be said for laying down roots. There's something to be said for being like the Knight of Pentacles and persisting with something and not getting discouraged if it becomes a bit predictable, because you know that there's a higher purpose for it. Maybe it's not a job that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, but it might be something that is very like a godsend right now. Because, like, for instance, if you were somebody who was unemployed or underemployed, or if you have been, if your employment has been erratic, and that might be underemployment, and you've been just kind of living hand to mouth or something like that, and now you have like a steady job, and at first you might have been relieved, and then a week later you might have started to resent it. Perhaps that's on you, and you're not seeing the bigger picture with that. The outcome is the Strength card, and it's interesting. You know what? Maybe I was just looking at the picture. I was thinking biting the hand that feeds you, but somebody biting your hand and you're feeding them. And yeah, I mean, if there's that certainly can be a metaphor for a relationship where maybe you are giving more than you're receiving. That's not what this card represents, but as some of you may know, you don't have to go along with the meaning of the card all the time. And I've been kind of a Girl Scout with that, but I think that that's where intuition and your own creative imagination kick in, right? Um, but I mean, this card is associated with Leo. It's associated with um, having that confidence to do something. Maybe it's make a choice that is not easy. Um, I would say with the Leo energy too, it's about self respect, about not allowing yourself to be treated um, less than. And in some cases, you may have gotten into a bit of a rut. And with the Knight of Pentacles, maybe that's an element of yourself where you just kind of uh, have been so in this groove that you haven't realized that you're not in love with someone, or they're not treating you with respect, and that it's time to say goodbye to that, especially if you feel anxious around that person, or you feel like their behavior is causing you stress, that you can do better than that for yourself. Okay, that's what I have for you, Aries. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a personal reading, I'm primarily an astrologer, and I do the tarot, for personal readings as well. I have all kinds of readings, including specials, which are double readings. Please check out my website, rainandmoonastrology.com, for more info. The link is below, and take care.